Hello everyone and welcome to the final part of my top 100 games of all time. It's been a great journey. Thank you to everyone that has come on the whole journey with me, all the way from the last 90 games, which are just awful compared to these 10. Well, without further ado, let's see what's in my top 10. Sometimes you want a game that is going to be a good puzzle in front of you. Sometimes you want to be placing meeples out, and other times you just want to have a lot of fun with your friends around the table. And to me, one game that has never not caused laughs and in-jokes and just for the rest of the day, or even following on from that, weeks, months, people still referring to what happened, Cash and Guns is just one of those games that is so much fun. Yes, you've got to be alright with pointing foam guns at each other, but as long as it's done in a light-hearted way, there's so much to love about this game. It does have player elimination, which not everyone's going to like, and to be fair, sometimes we fudge it a little so they're just basically out the game for point scoring but can still shoot at each other. Because in this, it's all about the bluffing of, you've got some clicks and some bangs. You put one card in front of you, that's what your gun is going to do. Is it going to click and do nothing, or is it going to go bang and actually shoot at the person you're aiming for? So everyone is pulling their gun, aiming it at someone. If you've got too many guns at you, do you drop out? Ooh, I don't know. Maybe they're all bluffing, but if someone shoots you, you're out that round, you're not going to get any other loot. If you duck out, you'll not get any loot, but you won't get shot. Because if you get shot too many times, you're out. All your loot is gone. So you could have the most money, the most pictures, the most diamonds. But if you've been shot 3 times, that's too many times for the doctor to save you, basically, and you're out. Well, there's just so much to sort of love about this one. Like I say, there's the in-jokes, the sort of references made to it. It's like, I can't believe you shot me that time still. Just go on weeks, months, whatever. It's the perfect game to have grudges in of every round you point at the same person. Well, that's great, but you're not going to be able to shoot them every time. So at some point they're just like, well, you're always pointing at me, but it's going click, so I can stay in. And then it doesn't. It's a lot of fun. It really is. It's just you've got to be in that light-hearted mood. But when it comes out at game night, it always entertains. That's Cash and Guns. Number 9 is my top-rated Stonemaier Games game. Now, if you've watched the rest of the list, you'll have seen some been crossed off. Well, this one is one that, well, it kind of took the hobby by storm. It's still, I'd say, one of Stonemeier's biggest games. There's others that are almost there, but Wingspan is the game that really, I think, well, it probably pays a lot of their bills, should we say. It's sold millions of copies, and it's just really pleasant to play. I really like just the base game, throw in the European Birds expansion or the Asia Birds expansion. I really like that. I think the Oceania stuff, it adds complexity, it adds gamery stuff, but I don't always want that from Wingspan. I kind of just like the sort of, yeah, luckiness from the cards, the splattering of eggs that you're almost going to certainly do, but it's just nice to play. It's simple to teach. It's just got that look of, well, almost like a minimalism on the cards, where it's just a really white card with that bird, sometimes a very colourful or very peculiar looking bird, sort of right there in the middle, the name, a little fact, hopefully an ability for you to exploit, and yeah, it just all comes together nicely. You've got to get food, you use that, you know, so you're doing that action. At the start, that's great, you get 1 dice from the dice feeder, that's a bit of food. Now you can play that bird. Well, maybe that means maybe it's gone in that row, which means next time you get food, you get a dice, but you can also pay something to get a second one. And overall, each round you lose an action, but each of your actions feels generally bigger as you're filling out your board in front of you. So every time you take one of these actions, it's a better action, and it might trigger the bird abilities as well. It looks stunning, great production. I've actually upgraded mine, so it's not cubes you're putting down, it's like little bird meeple things. Absolutely love that, but not needed, because just the game itself is stunning. Stunning in production, stunning in looks, stunning in the way it just simply hits the table, and it's enjoyable to play. And that is Wingspan. My number 8 is one of the games I would 100% recommend to brand new players, people trying to get into the hobby, maybe not the exact version that I've got on my list, but Ticket to Ride as a family of games is just, it's super intuitive, super easy to explain, and well, you can expand it if you really enjoy it, and you probably will. In this game, you are collecting cards. You've got probably a handful of loads of cards by the end of it as you're trying to get sets of colours to throw them down. I'm putting 3 blues down there. I'm claiming that 3 blue route there. Someone else around the table, I need that route for part of the destinations I'm trying to link up, because they've got like their objective card is linking here to here, and you're just doing that for no apparent reason to them, blocking them, but you're like, well, that's what my objective is, to link up. It's just super easy on your turn. Are you taking cards? Are you taking objective cards? Are you placing trains down on the board? I really love the anniversary editions. I've got both the 10th one for the original America map and the 15th one for the Europe map. They're a bit bigger maps, they're a bit more colourful, and the trains, which, don't get me wrong, in the normal game, yeah, they're quite nice, but wow, they look super cool in the anniversary editions, because they're different. They're not all the same shape. You've got one which it's like the blue one is carrying cars, the brown one is like log trains and stuff. I just really like the way that ups the enjoyment of the game. Not necessary, because the gameplay is just so much fun. Out of all of them, the Europe map, be that the base game or the anniversary edition, I think it's my favourite. It's a little bit easier for being from Europe, knowing where the locations are, even though most of the American locations are pretty easy to guess. You know, roughly, oh, it's East Coast, West Coast, but there's certainly some locations in the middle where it's like, I'm trying to get to there. Oh, there it is. And it just takes you a little bit longer if you don't know the region perfectly. But also, the Europe map just adds a couple of little extras, like some of the routes needing a wild train card to get across some of the water, and different things like that. There's the tunnels with a bit of push your luck, which creates some moments, but it's still super simple to play. You literally teach the game when it's in front of players in like 2 minutes, because there's very little that you're teaching. There's very little, not necessarily choices, but you're basically aiming for sets of colours, putting them down. It feels like a cool old card game that's just been brought into board gaming with this, certainly with the anniversary editions, stunning board in the middle. So out of all of them, Ticket to Ride, but Ticket to Ride 15th anniversary Europe, that is the best one in my opinion. Number 7 is my top rated dexterity game. It's a huge one. It dominates a table, and some people even put multiple tables together to create the courses for PitchCar. Now, don't get me wrong, it's kind of hard to sometimes set up because it's so big. It's got loads of expansions, it's heavy, it's expensive, but it does create some great gaming moments and experiences. The tracks are never the same unless you're just making like a a sort of a very boring, overly sort of thing. As you've got a loop the loop, you've got jumps, you've got bits where the track goes thin and crisscrosses each other and stuff like that. Yes, other games hit the table more often because with PitchCar you do need a good amount of people. Realistically, you're not going to be playing it unless you've got at least like 6 people. Not sat around the table, but ready to move and flick their discs around the table. It's just one of those games where you get it to the table, you say, right, this is a race, you've got to get round the track as quick as you can. These are the rules. You flick it, and then if you go off the track, you go back to basically where you were until it's your turn again. Go. There's very little else to teach. It's Scalextrics in an analog form, and that's what I really enjoy about it. And that's why PitchCar is this high up my list. My number 6, now yes, we're at the top of the list, so this is going to happen again, but Cartographers is my highest roll and write. So yeah, I'm giving you maybe some little hints and tips of what's maybe higher. Cartographers is expandable via all the different maps. And there's also Cartographers Heroes. To me, they are effectively the same. Cartographers Heroes has the heroes, which can slay some of the monsters and stuff. The original has the ruin spaces for you to deal with when that comes out of the deck. Otherwise, they're very, very similar. Yeah, you've got like 6 different map packs to expand the game. There's extra like monsters you can throw in, which normally on a roll and write, everyone is only ever looking at their board. So, right, the card is flipped over, we're looking at that shape, we've got to draw it on our map somewhere. In Cartographers, every now and again, a monster comes out. You sort of scared, and you're like, okay, I've got to pass my map to the player on my left. They're going to pick the worst place for that monster on your pad, but you're getting this person's map. Oh, you've got a lovely gap over here. Well, if I draw this monster right in the middle of it, you're going to have a hard time filling around it. Because if you don't fill around the monsters, they lose you loads of points. So there's just that little bit of sort of interaction to screw other people over. There's the choice of coins, like do you go around the mountains to get coins that are going to score you points throughout the seasons? You've got the 4 different objectives. Alright, this round you're scoring A and B. Next round B and C. So you can see the objectives, plan ahead for them, and at some point you're like, well, that objective's not going to score for ages. But if I build up now, it'll score me loads at that point. And then later on it's like, well, that objective's only going to score for this round because it's already scored. Is there much point me going really hard for that if it's not going to score me a couple of times? It's a really good one where you are building out sort of a map, your cartographers, based on that flip of the deck. And yeah, it's relatively simple to teach. The hardest part is the objectives in the middle. Actually, what you do on a turn, very simple. Flip the card over. It'll give you maybe a shape and a choice of 2 terrains, or 1 terrain and a choice of 2 shapes. Draw that somewhere on your map. Why you're doing that is a little bit slow. You've got to explain all the different objectives. There's 4 different ones. Then there's the coins. It's absolutely perfect for gamers. But even then, sometimes for that first game, it's like, oh, if I'd have, yeah, maybe I should have put all of this blob of water together. Oh, yes, I forgot. I'm supposed to have a blob of houses that's this size, but it can't be touching woods. I've connected those because I'd forgotten that. After a game, though, you're definitely competitive and can beat me probably quite easily. But it's just a really nice game that is it's really nicely timed as well, because each round roughly gets a bit shorter with how many cards turn over. They've all got like a value on them, and each season you get less values to turn over in cards. So it's like maybe the first one, it's like turn over until you get to a value of at least 7. Then the next one, it's like 6. And it's by the end, your map is pretty much full almost every time. You might have a bit of a zone down here that's empty or bits and pieces dotted around everywhere, but very rarely do you sort of fully run out of room. Now, some of the maps make you run out of room a little bit quicker and different things like that. And yeah, those expansions have helped this game get this high because it means every game feels completely different. One, you're building underground, so it has to be connected. Another one, there's a volcano where lava can take bits out. Another map is on 6 like different separate islands that you're building on. Completely different. Another one, you spend some of those coins for things in a market. It's completely different each time you play, and apart from the map pack 6, each time you get one of those, they're double-sided. So at this point, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 from the base game's maps, and then like 11 expansion maps. That's a lot of content for a Roland, right? But yeah, you're gonna play it all. You're gonna want to play the different maps in Cartographers. My number 5 is not my highest rated 2-player only game, but it is a absolutely phenomenal game that if anyone you know likes chess or that sort of logic to it, Onitama is just a absolutely pleasant to play game. Not only do the components come out the box and it feels like a premium, like special edition with these chunky plastic pieces and like a neoprene mat that's rolled up in the box. You put your pieces on your back line, so does your opponent in this small 5x5 grid. You've got, on either side, you've got 2 pawns, or students I think they're called, and then in the middle you've got a master. You're trying to either take your opponent's master or get your master to where theirs starts on the board, which is in the centre. So it's like Way of the Stone, which is the kill, or Way of the River, which is get past and, I don't know, smuggle yourself down to the river. The way this game works is absolutely brilliant though. You deal from the deck 5 cards. 2 go to you, 2 go to your opponent, and 1 then sort of sets who's going first, and it sort of sits on the side. So say it's my turn first, I have these 2 movement cards in front of me. They are going to give me some movements that I'm allowed to do with any of my pieces. So maybe it's like a diagonal forward, or maybe a 2 steps forward, or maybe 1 step back. Right, I play that card, I move one of my pieces. When I play that card, it goes just next to your cards, and the one that was spare comes over to me. Then it's your turn, you do a movement, and that card I just passed you then comes into your hand, which means all of the movement is completely visible. You can see all of the 5 different potential options of movement that both you and your opponent can ever have in that game, right? Which is 100% perfect information at all times. You can see what moves you can make, what moves your opponent can make, where all the pieces are, and where that extra card is, who's going to be getting that movement. And at times you're like, all right, I've got this super incredible movement, the tiger, for instance, that allows me to jump forward 2 spaces. That's quite strong. But if I use it, within a turn, you'll be getting that card, and then you've got this amazing movement. But then if you don't use it, you're only ever using whatever your other card is and sort of having to rely on what your opponent's then giving you. So there's massive choices of, if I use this brilliant card, you're going to have it, when to do that, when not to. Sometimes you can have like no pieces left, but your master's still there and you manage to get it through and win by Way of the River. Or they've just taken all of your other pieces, but you still managed to take their master out. sometimes it can go right down to the wire where it's literally master versus master, but that is quite rare. And it's just a really short, sharp game of perfect information. Now, that's brilliant. Then you finish your game, you put those 5 cards aside, and you deal 5 new ones out from the deck, or shuffle them back in, however you want to do it. And this next game can feel so different. It's so different. Because all of a sudden, no forward movement, like directly forward, is available. It's only at diagonals and sideward movements. And that's a completely different one. Throw in some of the expansions. Not all of them are brilliant, but some of the ones where it's just new cards, that's fantastic. Just completely makes it even more weirder and wonderfuler as you get these weird phoenix movements or turtle movements and stuff. Just, it's a great game for 2 players. If you remotely like chess but don't want to, you know, spend the hours learning how to play and all that, it's a shorter, sharper, smoother experience, and it's, well, like I said, it's a premium feeling product as well. That's Onitama. My number 4 is pretty much the game that really dragged me into the hobby, and that is Carcassonne. There's something so incredibly satisfying about taking a tile, spinning it around, trying to work out where on this map that you're slowly growing out between all the players, where you can place it. You can play it kind of friendly and you're building out your own cities and roads, and you get a monastery and it fits nicely there with the road or whatever. Oh, I've got the perfect tile to finish that gap that we have in the middle, and that's going to score me this road anyway. And you can also play it a little bit where you sneak onto someone else's city as you place a tile where it's not quite connected, so it's a different city, but then later on you connect them up and sort of ninja in and grab some points with the other player. Do that for a road or a city, and it could be a floodload of points for you. And it's just the way that you can play the game. Throw in some expansions if you want, like the river. That's a great way to vary up the start. Some of the other expansions that allow you to like double the points of roads or cities or whatever, throw them in as well. More tiles is more goodness. Yes, there's plenty of expansions. There's some that I've not played, some that I don't think really need to be added to the game. But just the way it makes this amazing map in front of you as you're turning, like you've got this tile and you're like, okay, I can place that there, I can score some points, and then next time you get another one and it's like, okay, that's not where I'm going at all, it's not a city tile. Okay, so I was hoping to maybe build out my city a little bit, but I've got a bit of a road or a monastery. Okay, well maybe that can fit over here. And sometimes you get it where, you know, right in front of someone, all of their meeples have been put down on the roads and stuff and the farms right in front of them. Other times it's like just completely dotted around as people are placing tiles here, there, everywhere and claiming bits and pieces, trying to ninja in, take something off someone, like control someone out of a city and stuff. Yeah, it's really satisfying to play. In fact, the only time it's not satisfying is when you finish the game and there's one square, one tile space gap in the middle and you're like, I wish we'd have managed to find the perfect tile to fill that gap. That's frustrating, as otherwise we've created this awesome looking map in Carcassonne. My number 3 is my top rated 2-player only game. I call it a 2-player only game because that's how I want to play it. I don't want to play it free for all. I don't want to play it team based. This is Unmatched. Now at this point in time of recording, the only box that is kind of available in the UK that I don't have is the Houdini versus the Genie, which I will be getting that at some point because it sounds awesome. But every other character from the very first like Battle of Legends box through Deadpool, Bruce Lee, the Marvel boxes, all the way to Teen Spirit. I've got all of the sets, and I still want more. Not only do the sets come with individual characters with their own decks that are completely different and feel unique. This person can attack from range because they're an archer. It makes sense. This character, like Miss Marvel, has stretchy, so she can punch people that are a little bit normally outside of melee range. You've got so many different people with sidekicks. Like you've got Sherlock Holmes with Watson. You've got the Invisible Man who sort of goes in and out of the fog. You don't always know where the Invisible Man is. That makes sense. It's just, to me, I think the characters really capture the themes. All of the different maps are great as well. You've got just basic ones where it's kind of just a map, through to ones where there's doors that close, or high ground that gives you extra attacks on your extra damage to your attacks. You've got the Marvel maps which have items on the map that you can like activate to maybe gain health or again add to your attack or your defense. Each of them adds just something that little bit different, and it makes you want more. The fact that there's going to be the Tales to Amaze cooperative spin on this. I've got all of these characters that I can and do love playing as, and now I can use them in a cooperative sense. Well, sign me so far up for that. I'm so gutted I can't do the Kickstarter for that, because more chance to play Unmatched with all these characters that I've already got. That to me, well, that's just a brilliant way to add extra to what is already a phenomenal dueling game. Now, if you don't like actively 1 versus 1 hitting the other one down, because that's what you're trying to do, you're trying to beat their health dial down, I can see you not liking this otherwise phenomenal game. But otherwise, you really should try it, because there's something for everyone. You can like Marvel and get the Marvel characters only. You can like the legends of people like Medusa. Like you could have Medusa versus Robin Hood. You could have just any matchup you can almost think of that could happen at some point in Unmatched. And I want it to happen, because I love each time there's a new character. I'm excited to get it, to read through the deck, to play as that character, try the new map. Oh, this is different. There's like the Raptor Park. There's only bits I can go one direction. The next map, it's like, oh, there's secret passages that you can sort of nip off the board and you come back over here. Absolutely love Unmatched. It's just a game that I want to play over and over and over again. I wish the digital implementation was a little bit better, because then I could play it even more. Because I want to be playing Unmatched a lot, and that's why it's my number 3. My number 2 is a game where you take up the role as a corporation, and they have one job, and that is terraforming Mars. Now, you're trying to do it better than any other corporation out there, but each of you is trying to do things in a slightly unique and different way. Maybe my corporation is all about greenery and trying to get oxygen into the world of Mars that way, so maybe I can get things down onto the planet of Mars, greenery-wise, that bit cheaper than you. Maybe someone else is all about sort of spending steel and stuff, so you start with a load of steel resources that someone else, the other players around the table, do not have access to. Terraforming Mars then adds in this humongous deck of cards, with every single one of them being unique. It offers you the options to build out your engine. Round after round is generation after generation on the planet. You are slowly building up these bits. You know, maybe you're now generating some extra heat each round because you've set off some volcano somewhere. You've managed to eventually build a city and build some greenery around it. getting some oxygen, that's great for that. And then all of a sudden, someone builds a city near you and you build like a hub of shops effectively in the middle of it. And that's going to get you loads of extra income and money. You've got plants that you're looking after, you've got steel, you've got titanium and energy that you've got to sort of use up, because energy doesn't stay around, it just turns to heat if you don't use it in that generation. There's got card drafting. Now, technically, I think card drafting in Terraforming Mars is a variant. It's not. That's how you should play, because otherwise you can get stung with a load of cards that can't be used, literally, like, oh, this card has to be used before it's negative 18 degrees Celsius. It's already at like 4 degrees, so I can't use this card anymore. Or you could just get stuff that doesn't work with your strategy. Say you're going for that heavy greenery route. Oh, none of these cards give me anything to do with plants or anything like that at all. The drafting sometimes means you get this hand of cards at the beginning of the round and you're like, yeah, I want all of these. You then have the super hard decision of which one do you keep, what ones do you pass around the table to the other players. If you've got limited player count, like maybe it's 2 or 3 or whatever, is that card that you really want? Is it going to get round the table? Do the other players know that that's the card you want? And then, once you've drafted, okay, which ones of these do I really need? Because you've got to pay for these cards to keep them and then pay to play them as well. That sounds super harsh, but it makes the decision so important of keeping cards. If you keep too many, you've wasted money that, if I'd only got enough money, I could have played this card. Yeah, you can sell them later on, cards later on, but you buy them for 3 and sell them for only 1. And that doesn't sound like much, but if you do that with too many cards, all of a sudden that one card that might be the one that wins you the game, because it can be that close, that's the card that you can't afford to play anymore. I love the fact that you can play the blue cards which give you unique actions that only you can trigger on your turn. You can get stuff that gives you things like, every time anyone builds a city, you get a little bit of money. Is that going to put other players off building cities? It might a little bit. If it doesn't, you're reining the money in. And there's different things. At the end of the game, what you can do on your turn or just within a round, so different from everyone else. And throw in the fact that I've got the 3D tiles which make the map look incredible. I've got neoprene mats for some of the bonus sort of fan-made maps, so there's different objectives each time, slightly different configurations of the planet to build upon. Yeah, it's not a light game, but going into your first game of it, you'll come out of it and you'll be like, we played a game, my head hurts. Play it again, play it again, play it again, and you know every card in that deck. Or you at least know, right, this needs that tag. That's not that popular, or that's not that frequent in the deck. And things like that. Science tags, they're hard to get, but if you can get enough of them, some of the cards that require loads of them, super powerful when you plop them down into play. It's just a lot of fun, and like I say, with those extra bits, like the special 3D tiles, the extra maps, wow, it looks incredible on the table. Yes, you need dual layer player boards. Yes, you want to upgrade it because the game is that good. Really recommend Terraforming Mars. And last but not least, this is a game for me that has so many memories with it because I've played it in so many different places. I've played it at work with different people, many different people, pretty much every game night with certain groups. It will come out, be it, well, we're waiting for a couple of others to turn up, let's play. I've played it in the back of a minibus in Nepal, teaching brand new players how to play. We're all sort of sat with a card sort of wobbling on one of the chairs in the middle, all of us, as we're playing Love Letter. It's such a simple game. It's such a small deck of cards, yet it is just one game that I will always say yes to. Some people don't like it at 2 players. I love the game so much, I will play it at any player count I can. I love the fact that at different player counts, different things are more likely to happen. You play it at a really low player count, chances are that deck's not going to finish. You're more likely to be just out and someone wins a round. As the player count increases, the chances of that deck finishing increase. So all of a sudden, holding on to higher numbers is better. Often it is, but sometimes having that guard is just like that number 1 guard compared to the number 9 princess. That's going to win you the game sometimes. I love it when you're guessing someone and you're like, okay, let's deduce as much as I can here. There's always one card out the game, so you never know perfect information, at least not unless you're playing the Batman version, I think, which you can have a look at the card. Or maybe it was the Star Wars one. Either way, we're talking standard, newish Love Letter because it goes up to 6. There's one card, you don't know what that is. No one knows what that card is because the deck was shuffled and one was taken out before we started playing this round. So you're going around like, right, the 2 princes have been played. You've used one handmaiden, but if you had the handmaiden, surely you'd have played it. Okay, hang on, no one's played a spy yet, but surely you'd have played a spy. I'm gonna guess it anyway. And you get someone out. And sometimes you don't, sometimes you do. There's the brilliant parts of, right, I'm gonna play the priest, I get to see what your card is. And then it's like, well, it's super risky to hold on to this card. They know what I've got. But I really want to play this other card that I've just picked up, because on your turn, you've got one card, you pick another one up from the deck and you choose between the 2. It's that simple a choice. Card A or card B, which one are you playing to try and get either keep the highest card or get someone else out? There's that tiny little bit of bluffing. There's that great sort of parts where it's like, all right, I've got like the princess and I've got a guard. Right, I'm going to guess, do you have the princess? I know you don't. I've got it. But I'm slightly bluffing so you don't think that I've got it, because maybe you'll question me with a guard in a minute. It's super portable. It goes in a bag. There's so many versions. Like I said, there's Batman, there's Hobbit, there's Lovecraftian. There's so many. The original or semi-original, because it goes up to 6 with the new Chancellor and Spy cards. That is the best game. It is my number 1 of my top 100 games of all time. Love Letter. So there we have it. There are all of my 100 favourite games from, if you've watched the whole playlist. If you haven't, well, go back and watch some of the ones higher up. None of them are bad games. I've played slightly more than 100 games, shall we say. I've got about 300 still in my collection. Some have been sold, some I've played but haven't entered the collection or whatever. So I've played plenty of games, in my opinion. And these were my top 100. Let me know from this list, for the whole list, what deserved to be on it, what didn't deserve to be on it. Were you surprised at some of the ordering? Let me know in the comment section below. And, well, this might be the end of the top 100, but stay subscribed for probably other top 5 or 10 lists coming up soon. And, well, generally, have a great day gaming.